So just to recap, we've set up the IK leg. So I've just gone back and matched the controls and where the knees are, so they're both identical. Obviously you will be doing that, otherwise the animator will be animating with odd size controls. We also put in the hip, okay, and we also put in the master control. So as you can see in the outliner, underneath the master control, we've got the COG joint, and we've also got all the other controls there. Actually, I was just looking at that rig group. I think that's just an extra group that was there when we set up the bind skeleton. So let's call this rig skill group. Okay, just so that we know that the rig skeleton sits under there. Okay. We've also got all these controls. So we've got foot left setup, foot toe control group. Then we've got the knees. We've got the centre of gravity control. So all the controls also sit there as well. You can actually, if you want to, start to organise those as well, where you can select all the controls. I'm not going to have the setup groups in there, so I'm going to exclude the setup groups, just the controls, and again group them and call it rig underscore control group. Okay. So as you can see, underneath that rig master, I'm using groups to really organise where things are. So all the controls are under that group, and it just becomes a really easy process to understand the rig and get to it. Okay. For these that I used for setting up the line curves, and as if you remember, each one has got clusters in there. Again, I can group those and call it rig underscore setup group. Okay, so I know that anything, all the controls are here, my skeleton's here, and anything that I use for extra setup is here. Okay, and it just becomes a really easy rig to understand. Nothing changes. Groups are a great way. You know, it doesn't disrupt any rigging. It's just organising things quite nicely. Okay, and then lastly, we've got the skin group here, which we referenced in, and that's got the skeleton. So if I unhide it, and we've got the geometry as well. Okay, so you can see with the controls that we're starting to put in, you really need the controls to sit outside the geometry, and that's why I put that hip control kind of nicely, so it's very easy to grab. When you're actually animating, you will show none and just have polygons and curves, and that's what you're animating with. So you don't have joints at all, and you can see it's just the controls and the polygon. So in terms of that sort of language of rigs, just make sure that all your controls are always NURBS curves, never have polygons as controls. And that way, as you can see, I can still select the geometry. When you're animating, you've got these filters up at the top. Turn off the polygon filter, which basically means I can't select it. Okay, so when you're animating, you literally just animating, and the only thing you can ever select are the NURBS curves, and that's just a great way of really nicely animating, and the animator won't put accidental keys on your joints because they're just not visible. Okay. Lastly, for this little video, let's have a look at colouring the central ones. That blue is a little bit dark. So again, under your attribute editor, enable overrides. Just through habit, I often have the central ones as a yellow colour. Where is it? There. Okay. So it's just really nice. Enable overrides and the yellows up here. There we go. Okay. So it's just really nice and easy to read what the rig is doing. Okay. So definitely take the time to shape your controls, and B, set up the colours. Okay. Now, as you can see, because everything's wired in and has got constraints, and it may be that you actually want to edit the controls. Okay. So don't go in and just start moving the controls around, because it will disrupt things. So to really reshape any control, right click, go to Control Vert. Okay. I just need to turn on Nerve CVs. Right click, go to Select All, and you can move and shape the control, and it won't destroy any constraints or parenting that you've got set up. You're just manipulating the curve itself. Okay. Go back to object mode, and you can see its pivot is still where it should be. Okay. So that's a great way of those final adjustments on the model, is make sure that the controls are nice and easy to select things for the animator. All right. So once we've done that, we're now in a great position. Everything's getting organised. Let's carry on and do. Let's do an IK FK arm switch. Okay. And set up the extra FK controls for the torso.